Shafiqa of Alexandria. Cairo is not what you'd expect from a city of its size. In spite of its teeming millions, this is a city that is hopelessly repressed. A coalition of social, political, and religious taboos conspires to keep everything that ferments in the city's underbelly from rising to the surface. The rare puff of light or glimmer of rot that happens to simmer up from below will be snuffed out in a snap, either by the swarms of flies that patrol the city's hangouts, or the seasonal black cloud that seals its atmosphere, or the thick layer of dust that blankets its crumbling streets and alleyways, or the shrieks of pain from circumcised women whose husbands force them into a quickie before the metro closes at 11. On the surface, Cairo's residents appear as a wretched assortment of women wrapped in layers of cloth, and pitiful men whose ravenous sexual appetites go forever unfulfilled. A more penetrating view, however, reveals this city of 20-odd million to be buzzing with shadowy gatherings of all sorts, each with its own secret rituals and languages. The casual visitor will be unable to crack their codes unless, by happy coincidence, he stumbles upon someone who holds the keys. Cracking the codes by yourself or acquiring your own personal key requires a long and toilsome journey in which you abandon yourself to the city in all its filthiness until it becomes part of you, and you become part of it. The secret societies of the Cairenes include religious fanatics who move about in cohorts of brothers and sisters, homosexuals who organize cocktail parties and meet and greets in homes out in Doki and Hondacian, young artists drowning in rivers of beer stretching from Zamalek to downtown, wife-swapping groups in Mbaba, street children overdosing on soda in the shadows of slums and abandoned railroad yards, hashish dealers making the rounds in the brothels of Dar al-Salam, a church that's maintained its control and influence over its flocks for centuries, bodybuilding fanatics, boxers obsessed with their fists, mendicant musicians and worn-out belly dancers in the back streets of Faisal and the Pyramids district, gluttonous businessmen organizing hunting trips to begin after midnight, junkyard dogs, foreigners who ride motorcycles in Mahdi, youth committed to charity and public service in Agoza, folk singers in Shogra, S&M fans in apartments that overlook the Nile in Mahdi, families begot of incest with a biological map stretching from the Corniche at Rad El Farad over to Ahmed Helmi Street, fornicators with donkeys in Esbat Antar, the men in black, defenders of security and stability, dog catchers and dog dealers roaming about in bands in the desert, private security firms in the Fifth Settlement, killers for hire hiding out in El Ataba. All these secret societies grow up and mature in close geographic proximity to each other. They greet one another by sniffing each other with the tips of their noses, or by licking each other's necks, or by looking each other in the eye. Each one's secret is safe with the other. So, just very briefly, as you can tell by that passage, Cairo is really at the center of this novel, and it's, for those that don't know, it's released in 2014, the fall of 2014. It was widely acclaimed both in Egypt and in the larger Arab world. But 2 years after that, Ahmed was sentenced to 2 years in prison after a reader complained that an excerpt published in a literary journal harmed public morality, and we'll get to this conversation a little bit. But his imprisonment marked the first time in modern Egypt that an author had been jailed for a work of literature. Many writers and literary organizations across the world rallied around Ahmed and his cause, and he was released in December of 2016. Is that correct? 2016?
Yeah, sounds good.
His original conviction was overturned in May 2017. At the time of the printing, he's awaiting retrial and banned from leaving Egypt. That's obviously been overturned. He's here. But set in modern-day Cairo, Using Life follows a young filmmaker, Bassam Bagat, after a secret society hires him to create a series of documentary films about the urban planning and architecture of Cairo. The plot in which Bassam finds himself ensnared unfolds in the novel's unique mix of text and black and white illustrations. The Society of Urbanists, Bassam discovers, is responsible for centuries of worldwide conspiracies that have shaped political regimes, geographical boundaries, reigniting ideologies and religions. It is responsible for today's Cairo and for everywhere else, too. Yet its methods are subtle and indirect. It operates primarily through manipulating urban architecture rather than brute force. Bassam immerses himself in the society and its shadowy figures, he finds Cairo on the brink of a planned apocalypse, designed to wipe out the whole city and rebuild anew. And there's lots, I'm going to take